Hello, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Appreciate you guys joining us for our presentation today. This is taking a look at a way to do SharePoint forms quick. So hopefully I can demonstrate to you how fast and easy that process can be. I would expect that for many of you guys who've been using SharePoint, that hasn't been your experience so far. And what I want to show today is something that I'm very excited about. I hopefully can help you to see how this can solve a lot of headaches and make your life easier as well. So before we get into all of that, we're going to kind of cover some ground rules and do some quick intros. Just go on. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen okay. Okay, there we go. So my background is I've done a lot of Microsoft development, and I was actually a customer for InfoWise before using their tools, and I really have found it to be able to help solve a lot of problems for me. So I really, over the years, have come to get more and more value out of that, and I work with many different customers using all kinds of different SharePoint environments, and in all cases, I've been able to use these tools to build solutions easily. Today, we're focusing just on the form building aspect to that, but of course, there's a lot of components, and these tools really help me out. So that's kind of my background. To tell you a little bit about the InfoWise team, we really focus on building easy solutions, and we really want to solve the challenge that all of us face in trying to do custom forms and processes in SharePoint, because that's generally not an easy thing to do with out-of-the-box SharePoint, and that's what our tools are all about. We're always improving our product and tools, and that's what we try to emphasize. So instead of just having some tools out there and just having the same thing, one thing that I hope you'll notice is that we're always making improvements and adding new features. So that's one very cool thing about our product. So just to tell you a little bit about Ultimate Forms, it is a full form solution, and it is completely contained inside of your SharePoint environment, and it includes many tools. So in addition to the Form Designer tool, it includes comprehensive tools for doing workflow and doing dashboards and even custom printing. So there's a lot of things included. I do want to mention that we'll do a shirt drawing towards the end of the presentation that is limited to folks living inside of the USA just because of postage costs, that kind of thing, but we'll do that a little bit later on. As we're going through the presentation, if you guys have any questions, just use the questions box in the GoToWebinar interface. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Wouldn't mind if somebody could just post in there, let me know if my audio is okay in the questions interface. I want to make sure everybody can hear me really well. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you guys. All right, so that's kind of ground rules. If I don't get your question right away, don't worry. I will catch up to you later just because I have a lot that I want to present. Okay. So let's talk about what your options are very quickly in terms of doing custom forms in SharePoint. So what Microsoft provides is the new Power Apps platform. I think we all know that InfoPath is a long time gone by now. I know that some folks have legacy forms that they need to get off of, but SharePoint Designer 2013 was the last option there, or same thing with InfoPath. So Power Apps is the way forward as far as out-of-the-box SharePoint. I've used Power Apps extensively. I know a lot about how it works. I know what the process is like, and I know what it is like in terms of the level of effort to set up custom forms on that platform. It does have a purpose, and as with all tools and platforms, there's a good focus on that. In my experience, it's good if you need to do a dedicated solution for mobile phones or tablets, for example. It is a separate platform. You'd have to load and work within a separate browser window, and it has its own learning curve and tools and things like that. But it is, when you build forms, it is done outside of SharePoint. And what I'm showing you today, you'll notice that these tools are baked right into SharePoint and everything's tightly connected together. Power Apps does involve a lot of coding. There is a lot of formulas and nested if statements and codes and various things that you have to put in there to get the functionality that you want. In my experience, that's very much a developer activity, whereas the things I'm going to show you today, there is no coding required. In terms of doing validation, that is not included as part of Power Apps form development. You have to build it yourself, which is quite tricky and also, again, time consuming. Power Apps is a form designer solution specifically. It doesn't have any kind of workflow component in it, although it is certainly true you can connect to Microsoft Flow. And Flow, like Power Apps, has its own learning curve, and once again, is something that I would very much consider a developer kind of activity. Certainly all of us can learn and use Flow, but it's typically not a fast process, and there's some intricacy involved in terms of doing that. What I'm going to show today is that we can build forms really quickly and easily in comparison to using Power Apps or other tools where it tends to be intricate and time consuming. Our platform, the Ultimate Forms tools, have been growing and improving for more than 10 years. So it's a comprehensive platform. It first began in SharePoint on-premise, and then as the Microsoft SharePoint platform has evolved in where now more customers are in SharePoint Online. Of course, we have our online version of the product, which matches all the features and functionality of on-premise. So regardless of which SharePoint version you're using, these tools work great. In terms of how you place controls and do your form layout, it's very precise in terms of how Power Apps work, where you can actually, to the pixel, specify where components are, and it can, again, eat up a lot of your time. What I'm going to show today is just simple drag and drop of fields where you want them on the form, and it just happens very quickly. In terms of your screen real estate, what I'm showing today is targeted mainly towards the desktop experience, but it is a responsive layout, and it will work for mobile devices, including tablets and phones. In general, Power Apps tends to be more geared towards mobile devices specifically. And then in terms of options, web parts, configuration, Ultimate Forms is really fully featured because it has been evolving over the last 10 years, whereas in comparison, Power Apps is very new on the scene, and a lot of it's, build it yourself or work around, because not everything that you want is going to be included there. So there's a lot of reasons to consider using, our tools instead of just trying to work from out of the box. So this graphic just sort of demonstrates what we're shooting for, our philosophy, and what we're doing. It's about doing it fast and easy and not having convoluted process. And that's second, squirrely arrow is how I kind of tend to think about working with those tools, those other options sometimes, and it's a headache, and it's not something I want to do, and I guess that it's probably not something that you guys want to have to deal with either. Just once again, want to mention our product is works the same, has the same functionality and features both for SharePoint Online and for on-premise. Just to take a step back, in terms of basic form building principles, this is absolutely something I 100% believe in, and this is what we seek to achieve. We want to have a term I like to use, MVP, minimum viable product. We want to be able to get a form up fast. It doesn't mean we want it necessarily to be beautiful right away, but we want to have something up quickly and be able to interact with it, get user feedback as fast and easy as possible. We want to have dynamic form features without having to do programming. This is all about avoiding code and getting into things like that, because not all of us are developers. Really, we just want to build some basic forms, get them out there, let our users use them without having to deal with a lot of programming language or syntax or things that tend to take more time and have a steep learning curve. But we do want to be able to have the ability to do those customizations. So You know, we want to be able to get the form to look nice without having to do a lot of deep customization. So that's what I'll show. And then we want to structure the form how we want and include validation, help, and visual elements. So these are some core principles that we want to achieve. There's a loop. When you're building forms, you want to be able to make your adjustments, publish those, and then test out your form. And this really needs to be in a very tight and quick cycle because this is intuitive. You want to be able to make that connection between the settings that you're applying and how your user experience is going to be. So this tight feedback loop is really important, and this is not something that you're really able to achieve very easily otherwise. So that's the name of the game. We want to be able to do this stuff quickly, and hopefully my demonstration today I can show you that things can be done very fast. Okay, here I am in SharePoint Online. This is a standard, regular, modern SharePoint team site. And in my site, I have just got things started by making a couple of basic SharePoint custom lists. So I have a projects list and a tasks list. So starting out of the box, you know, we know that what SharePoint gives us just doesn't get it done. It's a very bland and boring user experience, and it's devoid of any customization options. I'm talking about the default SharePoint form. We get our long scrolling list, and in spite of all the modernization and updates from Microsoft, this experience, this form experience, has not updated. There is the version where it'll show in the right sidebar, but it's really the same thing. It's a vertical scrolling list, not custom at all. We do see the Power Apps option. I've already delved into that some. And, you know, as I had mentioned, it doesn't solve our business need of being able to build and deploy customized forms quickly. Okay, so here I am. I've got my Ultimate Forms app, really easy to set up. If I go into the site contents of the site, it is literally only a matter of me clicking on Add an App, and I've already added the Ultimate Forms app. So once it's in the site, I'm ready to go, and I have the tools I need to do this customization. And I will talk later, tell you guys you can get the full app installed and up in your tenant within minutes, and you can test this stuff out and find out for yourself just how it works, not just take my word for it. So with this in there, I've got this extra button. I've got these colored puzzle pieces, and I just click on the design button, and it's going to take me into an InfoWise design hub. This is a jump off point which has many, many options of different things I can choose to customize. Now, our focus today is doing things fast and easy. I'm not going to delve into all the many features of Ultimate Forms and what it has. What we're going to focus specifically on is this form designer function. But it is nice to know that this toolbox includes a whole bunch more than what we're getting into today. Okay, so when I get into Form Designer, this is the fast and easy interface for me to build forms. This is not accessible or available. It's not something Microsoft is providing. This is what you get as a part of loading this app. So it's time to go to work. I just have this projects list I made. I went through the process that you guys already know of creating fields. So I've created all these fields for project tracking. And so now what I want to do is build out my custom form. All right, so I'm going to just drag and drop containers into my interface. First thing I want to do is do a tab form. That doesn't exist in regular SharePoint. So I just drag the control right onto the form, and there it is. I don't have to enter anything or stuff like that. Below this, I want to do a button bar, which I can customize if I want to. And then when I click on these controls or containers, you're going to see context-sensitive settings show up on the right. But what's important about this is they're all drop-down controls and dialogues and checkboxes and things like that. Nowhere in here am I ever having to do any programming or anything like that. So I want those buttons on the right. On my tabs, I'm going to do 4 tabs. So I'm just literally clicking a plus icon and I have 4 tabs. And I'm just trying to do it fast and easy. So I'm going to just start dragging controls in here. So all the SharePoint fields that I added to my list, those automatically show up for me in the left side under this list column section. And so I just need to put them into my form in the order I want them to show up. So for me, my first one is project, and then I'm just going to roll here. I'm just dragging all these fields in that I already created. One thing that's important as I'm working on this, I'm going to hit that save button and I can save my process. So in 1 second, that just saves it off, and that way I don't have to worry about losing any work. And notice when I drag on there, it highlights where it's going in there, and I'm just putting it in that container. Okay, so I've got more fields. I'm just working my way through. And this is the step I'm going to have show up on my first tab. I'm going to do project type next. These are just regular SharePoint fields, nothing special about the fields themselves, but my build process is a lot different than anything you've probably used before. Okay, we're going to have a start and end date for my project. And then I'm going to put a description on the bottom of this tab. And just to be good, I'm going to keep saving as I go. Okay, and then what I do is just click on the second tab, and I'm going to put the stuff in there. This tab's going to be for milestones. I made a bunch of milestone fields, so I'm just going to use this tab for that. So I've got milestone 1, description, and then, I have a date. I want the date before the description. Notice it's really easy to reorder those. I can just drag and drop those around in the form, that kind of thing. So, whoops. Let me go back to my last save point. If you do run into any issues, you can just click back. Whoops. One good thing about this is the save points just kind of give you a checkpoint that you can get back to. There I am. All right, let's do milestones again. Okay. All right, so I've got 3 sets of milestones that I'm doing. And what I'll do is actually publish this out really quick after I get the fields on there. It's all about having bite-sized pieces. So that way I get those checkpoints, and I don't have to worry about getting a whole bunch of configuration done all at one time. So those are the milestones. Right below at the very bottom, I'm going to do this progress field that I have. There it is. And then on the third section, this is for tasks and project updates. I'll put that on there. And let's see, where's my project updates? There you are. And then fourth tab is just for attachments. And I can click the preview at any time. That'll show me what the form's going to look like. So that's one way you can do it. I tend to like to go back and just go right back to the SharePoint list. But this helps you. You can actually see what it would look like on different mobile devices. So you've got your tablet and you've got your phone layout. So that's handy. When I actually want to publish it out to users, I can use that publish button, and this actually will change the form over from what it was from default. So really, we just laid the foundation already for the stuff we need to do. So now when I go in to edit my form, it's not that boring default SharePoint form. Now I'm actually looking at a modern form. This is more jiving with the modern look that we have overall on the SharePoint platform. Notice the visualization with the people picker. That looks really nice. We've got a visual editor tool for text and the tab. So right now it looks a bit plain, but we've got our skeleton, if you will, and it really just took us, just a quick minute to get that done. So, I was showing you that cycle, that quick loop. That's what we're looking for. So I already have a confirmation. Yes, I'm on track. I'm doing what I want to be doing. And then I can just drop right back into the designer and continue what I was working on. Okay, so I've got all my fields in there. So now I'm going to start to do some other customizations, which you'll see are going to be really fast and easy. So for this whole outer container, I want to, put some little bit of background color in it. I'm looking for a little bit of contrast, right? So for that, I'm going to do, let's see, I'll do off-white basically. And what you can do is put a name to your style. So I'll just say background color, and then I save it. And you notice the background color changed slightly for me. I'd also like to have a little bit of a border here. The thing that's really cool is when I want these things, how fast I can make that happen. Notice I'm not having to type in the CSS. In this case, I'm just picking from a dropdown. I want a solid border. I'm going to make it 2 pixel. And I just say what I'm doing, border style, and save it. The settings are immediately applied. That's super important. Anything you're doing, you immediately see how it's affecting your form. So I don't have to guess at anything. I see what that is. If that was wrong or not quite how I wanted, I could go and adjust that style immediately, and that'd be very easy to do. And also there's themes baked in here. So notice how this theme drop down. I'm going to use impact for that, and it just makes the tabs kind of jump out a little bit more. So that's kind of a way to speed up the process as well. One other thing I'd like to do is a little bit of padding. I just want like 5 pixel padding on there, and that'll make things so they're not, smashed against the side. So there's some padding. And once again, I'm going to publish. And once that's set, I'll just go back to my site. Again, I can use the preview, but I just kind of like to go back to the SharePoint list just to be absolutely sure it's what I want. So I'll go back into edit mode. And notice the look and feel is different. I got the border around the form, which I wanted. I've got some padding in there. So it's just an incremental process. I am tweaking. I can get the look and feel how I want. I don't have any of those look and feel controls to do that kind of thing quickly otherwise. There's no way that I could do that. But this form designer makes that kind of thing really fast. Okay, so now that we've got that in there, let's go ahead and name the tabs. We don't want them to say tab 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's just a text box. So I just go in here. This is going to be definition. Did I spell it right? Okay, good. And then we had milestones. And then we had tasks and updates. Isn't that really cool? It's changing that real time. I'm not even having to hit save or anything. It's immediately updating that interface. I know exactly how the look is changing as I do things. Okay, so that's set. And I've got other controls I can use. So in this milestone section, I want to save first. I'm kind of bad about that sometimes. Always good to have it hit that save button because it just takes 2 seconds. I'm going to use this accordion control. So I'm going to drag that onto the form. Now that in itself is a container. It's much like the tabs, right? So if I look on here, it says tab 1, tab 2. I just want to have 3 milestones. So what I'm going to do is rename it. I'm going to say milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. Okay, we're using impact for the theme on those as well. Yeah, I want them to be collapsible. And then what I need to do is just drag my controls in here. So basically I click on the control to set focus. And then once I do that, I've got this 4-way arrow, and that gives me a clue that it's ready to relocate. And see how easy that is? I can't tell you how awesome it is just to be able to have that simple drag and drop, because I've not used any other kind of tool or anything related to SharePoint form that makes it this easy. And if I ever have to reorder them, I can just drag and drop them around in the interface however I need to. Okay, so now I gotta move milestone 2 once in. There we go. And then we do 3. So basically, I'm just moving it down one container. So you'll get used to this. Basically, you just have different containers in your form, and they're highlighted as you're, rolling and clicking and dragging over them. So, it's very intuitive. You just get used to this process fast. Another thing I want to do is maybe have a slightly different background color for milestones. So I'm going to do a darker background color for that. Okay, so just go to the background color and we'll do, like a little bit darker gray. I'll call it accordion background. Just kind of giving some contrast, trying to spice it up a little bit, make it a little more attractive so everything doesn't just blend right together. All right, trying to do bite-sized pieces, like I said. So I didn't make a lot of adjustments, but what I want to do is just keep going back to my form, look at what I'm doing, see if I'm, progressing in the right direction, and I can just keep going back and forth. So that loop between making those adjustments and testing the form is really tight. That's what we're shooting for. Okay, so we got our tabs looking right, and now we kind of have a more user-friendly milestone section, right? We're creating a more user-friendly experience. And then you have cool stuff, like the tasks. This is an InfoWise functionality where you can have like a many-to-one relationship. So I can put many tasks in there. SharePoint doesn't provide any ability to do that. So that's really nice. And then you can see I've got my aqua color task form. I clearly need to update that. And then, a nice drag and drop interface for your attachments. So this is, going to fit well with the modern look. It fits into the kind of user experience that people are going to expect nowadays. All right. So let's do something additional. I'm going to go in here and let's say you want to add some visual elements into the form. I personally think that's very important. It's important to bake in help and references and things like that. If you do want to put in a picture into the form, it's easy to do. You can just drag and drop it into the interface. So again, you have these controls on the side, and I just can pick image, and I just drag it into the form. Now I need to make sure it's not it's in the right container. See, I almost put it into the tab. So you start to appreciate and understand and learn what that's about. Okay, so for the image, what you do, it's asking for a path. So this is like anything else in SharePoint. Whenever you upload an image to SharePoint, it just loads it to the local directory. And so I've already done that. I've got an image in there. And so I just need to tell the control, where the image is. There it is. Okay, so it immediately updates the interface, so I don't have to worry about whether I got the path right. And then, I may need to tweak that. Maybe I want to border or center it or something like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pick, center the image, just put that up top because I'm just trying to tweak that interface, and then publish. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I never had to do any programming, but I was able to get a tab interface going. I was able to get accordion functionality. Really able to create a much more compelling and user-friendly experience quickly. Everything that I wanted to do, I was able to do within seconds. And there just really is no other equivalent experience to that I've used or encountered. Certainly not within SharePoint. And in terms of your business needs, that's hugely important because I'm sure that you don't have just one form that you need to do. We have to do forms all the time in SharePoint because everything's oriented around lists and documents. And having these tools are going to allow you to accommodate for that. The alternative path is extremely time consuming and developer oriented and not a good way to go, in my opinion, unless you just happen to have a dedicated SharePoint developer. And even in that case, it's still going to be a slow process. Here's our Milestones tab. It's looking more spiffy now. So let me talk to you about the path forward, next steps, that type of thing. Okay, so this is the InfoWise site, and the next best thing you can do is go ahead and get that app installed, or get that trial software if you're on premise, because it is the full software, and that's going to let you try out and tell you what to do. So what you want to do is click on Quick Start, and that's going to take you to this page. You have another option. If you want to have a more personal conversation with us, we can do a demo. You can request the demo. Just click on the green bubble. In terms of getting that trial installed on the next steps, you can find that under installation, and it'll tell you exactly what to do. We've got a nice user-friendly video. It'll guide you what to do there. Also, I do want to mention, if you go into our resources, we have a lot of really nice tutorials that'll help you get ramped up and learn what to do. We have lots of great training material. I know I'm the training coordinator. I provide a lot of this. We can even do web-based training sessions with you guys. We got options for that. So many good options there. I do want to mention to you guys before I forget that we are going to be at SharePoint Fest in Chicago on December 9th. If you're planning to be there or can go there, we'd love to talk to you face to face. That's, believe it or not, coming up in only whatever that is, 6 or 7 weeks. So love to see you there if you guys are going to be there. And let's do a drawing for that shirt. I promised to do that. And then I'll cover questions right after that as well. So let me take a look at our interface. Okay, can you give me a number 1 to 100? And again, this needs to be people in the USA only. I will pick one of these folks in the list and winner. So just put in a number from 1 to 100. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds. I'm going to pick somebody and we will get to questions. Move fast. Put in your number. One number per person. All right, counting you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll go ahead and pick a winner, and that is Jason Shaw. Jason, if you will send me an email to willc@infowisesolutions.com, give me your shirt size and address, and we'll get a shirt off to you today. Let me get to the questions that you guys posted, and if you can be patient with me, I'm going to try to work my way through, and we'll get through as much as we can. And if for any reason I don't answer your questions, I just to mention my email, please reach out, contact us, either sales@infowisesolutions.com or willc@infowisesolutions.com. We'll help you out. Okay, let's take a look at your questions. Yes, there'll be a recording of this. I'm going to post it on YouTube later today. Will this work with the class experience? 100%, Samantha. You can go either way. That's one thing I should have mentioned. We have both for modern forms and classic because our product originally was geared to work with that. So we didn't remove any of those settings or anything. Can work either way. So really nice if you're making that transition to where you have some classic forms and want to have modern also. Restore past versions of a form. You can, the save lets you create checkpoints, if you will. You can use our template manager to make copies of that. That'd probably be the best way to do that. It's not versioning the way that you're thinking of it, but there is a methodology where you could have different versions of a template you created. So there could be a strategy to do that type of thing. Are forms compatible with mobile views? 100% compatible. Recall in my presentation that there's a preview that shows you how this would look on a mobile device. So it's a responsive user interface using that CSS. So the elements readjust. So it is compatible, absolutely. We've got a question about HR onboarding. There for capturing new hire information. Ooh, long question. Okay, we have the PDF documents. Is there a list linking tool? Yeah, you can generate PDFs. You can have it auto-generate PDFs to a library. There's many different options. You can use associated documents to list documents in there. Yes, you can link and do things, but it's our PDF output capability is what you want to look at specifically. And it's really cool. I use it a lot, and we have information on our site if you want to play around with that specific functionality. It's excellent. Global default styles. There is a CSS in there, and that's what you'd want to take advantage of if you want to do consistent themes between different forms. It wouldn't be a global style sheet the way that you're thinking of it, but you could define some standards and put that in the CSS, copy and paste that CSS into the form control. Be very fast, effective, easy to do. So if you always want forms to have a certain type of header, padding, or font style, that's the way that you would want to do it. Conditional formatting, absolutely you can, Michael. In fact, that's some of the stuff that I like the most. I just didn't show it today because we're really geared towards just showing you how to do the basic form really fast. We have examples which demonstrate that in the Getting Started section of tutorials, which you can see on my screen. In terms of the many to one, that's associated items. Also, that's covered in the tutorial section. So if that's something you are very interested in, Samantha, do a search for associated items and tutorials in our website, and it will show you, and you can actually do a practice to see exactly how that functionality works. Somebody is mentioning they have InfoWise already and it looks different. Probably you need to update your components to get that. With on-premise SharePoint, you do have to, through central administration, go through and update the components. So you may just need to get that done. All right, let's see, table control. There's not, the way that, yes, you can have nested containers. So that's how you would accomplish what you're talking about, Peter. You can have multi-column layouts. So 100% there is. You can have containers within containers, et cetera, as much as you want to do that. And that way you can do multi-columns. Can you pull in data from other lists? Absolutely. And in fact, there is data integration components built into our product. So you can even do imports from database, set up profiles that way, and also export data. Can you add a link to a form? You know, absolutely you can. Yeah, the fragments control, that gives you the ability to do HTML snippets or content snippets, much like I put the image control in there. You can put in ad hoc HTML, whatever you want to put in there, that's fine. The print options, we covered that already. You want to look at our PDF print template options and things like that. It's a very nice tool. You can do simple or advanced print templates and get any kind of print output you want. Once again, that's a feature that is completely and totally non-existent in SharePoint or Power Apps or any of their other tools. Collaboration. Generally, you can control who has access to the Form Designer tools and other related Ultimate Forms tools. So if you're collaborating with other users or want to control who has access to that, you can do that. All right, I'm going to go with one more question, and then we're going to go ahead and start to wrap up. One of the users had seen that we had some training content on Lynda. I'm not sure, that's not sponsored or subsidized by our team. I expect at some point that would get updated. This was some training done by Phil Gold. Phil Gold does do training content updates. It's more likely that you're going to, or it's not more likely, it's certain that you're going to have more information on that. Eric, if you're interested in doing training on what I was demonstrating, we did just recently update our foundation training content, which demonstrates that. So if you go into our resources and go to training, on our instructor-led training page, probably what you want to take a look at is the Ultimate Forms Foundation training. And that would be your best bet if you want some training content on how to use the new Form Designer. Okay, that's it. Thank you for hanging on. I know that was a long session today. I really appreciate your input. Excellent questions. If you felt that I didn't quite answer your question fully or want to have a more in-depth conversation with us, please reach out and contact us. Sometimes it's hard when we got a big group in the room to get to everybody or answers in depth, but absolutely, we'd love to make sure we answer that. And as I mentioned, try to make sure you make it a priority to get your trial installed. That way you can try out these tools and find out for yourself just what it's like. And from there, you can make that evaluation and hopefully move forward and get these tools and have them available on your SharePoint. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. Have a good rest of your Friday, and we will see you again soon.